California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending.
I was on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want to run for president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know.
Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher shredded Gavin Newsom in a full-blown comedy takedown, turning his polished image into political confetti with sarcasm as sharp as California's tax hikes. Every focus on appearances and policy misstep was fair game as they dismantled his speeches and confident promises until they felt thin and hollow. What once seemed smooth and controlled suddenly looked laughably vulnerable under their relentless humor. Making this more than commentary, it was a masterclass in comedic roasting.
These are now the party of disorder. Turns out the only system they had was wokeism, and it rotted any basic principles the party had to begin with. Which is why, like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames. And this time, no one is going to help them.
Trump administration, they talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school have changed their gender, their pronouns. That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you?
I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, but what is the job of a teacher? It's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex as the teacher.
Greg Gutfeld didn't just stroll into the studio. He stormed in like a man ready to tax California's sarcasm. Gavin Newsom immediately became the target, and Gutfeld unleashed every joke, jab, and punchline he had, his signature smirk in place. He dubbed it the Barbie Governor Chronicles, painting Newsom as a picture-perfect Malibu politician, polished on the outside, all plastic charm, yet somehow missing the basic instructions for common sense. It wasn't typical political commentary, it was open mic comedy ripping the moment to pieces.
While Newsom lurks outside the White House like a greedy relative in the parking lot of a hospice. Maybe he is the perfect replacement for Joe. Just like him, the corruption is baked right in.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for updates. Greg Gutfeld kicked things off by joking that Gavin Newsom might be the first politician trying to turn an entire state into a luxury wine commercial. To Gutfeld, California under Newsom didn't feel like leadership. It felt like managing a public image, like spraying air freshener in a burning house. Homelessness was rising, crime was growing, yet Newsom seemed preoccupied with talking about the ozone layer while stepping over problems right outside City Hall. In Gutfeld's eyes, it all looked like confusion wrapped in a designer suit.
The problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. Who hasn't?
What's a condom?
But as always, when a far-left Dem runs for national office, he acts like a Republican. This is where the left is really pro-trans.
Greg Gutfeld questioned how someone could talk endlessly about carbon emissions while ignoring San Francisco's sanitation issues, highlighting what he saw as a glaring contradiction. Newsom, he joked, often preaches about protecting the planet, but sometimes runs California like an eco-friendly cousin of Lex Luthor. Gutfeld also mocked how Newsom lectures farmers on water usage while the state pours millions into flashy projects that, in his view, wouldn't even survive a Hollywood script meeting. And he wasn't done pointing out the irony.
It's an evil snake motherfucker. I don't know how to describe it. You see what he just did there, and Bill got it right. Somehow it's snitching if the parent finds out. If the teacher says, oh, your kid has been going by other names and changing pronouns and dressing up this way, you don't know about that as the parent. That's the snitch. It's the parent's job to raise.
Greg Gutfeld joked that Gavin Newsom's hair seemed to have more structure and funding than California's public schools, more gel than solutions, and you could almost hear it crunch under the weight of his confidence. He added that listening to Newsom speak felt like a TED-style talk, led by someone who just discovered Wi-Fi. Polished voice, lots of hand gestures, big words, but very little substance. Gutfeld compared it to stuffing an encyclopedia into a fortune cookie, giving it Botox, and calling it leadership. According to him, Newsom's speeches could cure insomnia, perfect for anyone who thinks watching paint dry is still too exciting.
So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay? No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends.
And don't get Greg Gutfeld started on Gavin Newsom's climate obsession. He painted Newsom as the kind of leader who could be standing in front of a burning Walgreens, smoke billowing, and still blame climate change for the fire. Gutfeld joked that Newsom somehow connects rising sea levels to everything: crime, traffic, even power outages. And if he talks long enough, maybe even the energy for his hair highlights. Then he shifted to what he called Newsom's pandemic hypocrisy, recalling how the governor told Californians to stay home while he dined privately at one of the fanciest restaurants in town. Gutfeld said it wasn't just breaking his own lockdown rules, it looked like he danced right past them. Meanwhile, residents were fleeing California like passengers abandoning a sinking cruise ship. Greg quipped that if Newsom were a lamp, the building would be empty while he stood outside handing out glossy flyers about how great the neighborhood used to be. Businesses were leaving, families moving away, and Newsom kept talking about equity as if it were a slogan, not a solution.
It was looking bad there for a while, and we still don't have enough water in the Colorado River and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then whenever I read 80% of the water goes to agriculture, almonds.
Right.
No one ever asked the Trump administration. They talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school
Right.
have changed their gender, their pronouns.
Right.
That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you
Well, I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't. But what is the job of a teacher? It's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex, is that they teach.
Bill Maher mocked Gavin Newsom for treating electricity like a dangerous substance needing strict rationing, even as he used it to light up every conference room. He delivered a fresh round of climate jokes, questioning how a state with endless sunshine could still end up literally and politically in the dark. Maher called Newsom's policies the political equivalent of cutting off your own arm to stop a hangnail, dramatic, over the top, and ultimately pointless. He also went after Newsom's presidential ambitions, saying the governor has more drive than results, comparing him to a reality show contestant who thinks they're winning while the audience is ready to vote them off. Newsom may believe he's the future of the Democratic Party, Maher quipped, but he's really just a sleek new label on the same old bottle of coastal elitism. From housing to education to healthcare, Newsom always had a poetic way of talking about the problems. He just never got around to actually fixing any of them.
Like the show, okay? And the man who made it acts like he had nothing to do with it. Yeah. It's pure government grift, shoving you down a flight of stairs and then making you pay for the handrail. We've been lied to for years that homelessness is all about affordable housing. Fentanyl isn't the problem. It's that loan officer at the bank. Yet as we walked to work, we never saw families or kids, just men. So strung out on fentanyl, they look like they're...
Bill Maher tore into Gavin Newsom's education record like someone whose patience had officially run out, pointing out that California's public schools rank somewhere between disastrous and please homeschool your kids. Yet Newsom somehow found more time criticizing other states than fixing his own problems at home. Maher joked that he was like the substitute teacher of American politics, charming, sharply dressed, but utterly unable to stop the classroom from descending into chaos. His final jab targeted Newsom's crisis leadership, hold a press conference in front of a golden backdrop, toss around buzzwords about bold new ideas, then leave without answering a single question. Maher compared California's homelessness approach to a game of whack-a-mole, where the mallet is a government grant and the moles just get shuffled a few blocks away. Greg Gutfeld chimed in, noting that Newsom throws money at problems like a DJ tossing glow sticks into a black hole. Flashy, energetic, maybe fun to watch, but completely useless when everything else remains in the dark.
Newsom wasn't just ignoring the problem, he enabled it because Dems were in a woke crouch, terrified of their loony base. But now that he's seeing the White House, he's got a brand new act, a common sense centrist, just a soccer dad in khakis, fed up with crime and chaos. It's all bull. A costume, a political drag show, and the kids this drag queen is...
Greg Gutfeld tore into Gavin Newsom's approach to crime, joking that he's like a lifeguard giving diving tips while the pool is full of sharks. Under Newsom's leadership, Gutfeld said, California seemed to turn leniency into law and accountability into a legend. Crime isn't illegal anymore. It's just misunderstood. If someone stole your car, you weren't a victim. You were part of a social experiment on equity and economic frustration. Bill Maher followed with his own jab, saying Newsom leads like someone who thinks hugging the problem will make it disappear. He mocked how the media spins everything, turning failures into supposed innovation. If Newsom tripped over a traffic cone, Maher joked, the headlines would call it a bold new form of urban exploration. He added that Newsom has the media wrapped tighter than a pair of vegan yoga pants, and every time he fumbles, they rush in with a safety mat, treating each stumble like a step toward enlightenment.
Like the wildfires, Gavin blames climate change when it was his corrupt bureaucracy. Since the Palisades fire, which destroyed 6,000 buildings, only 4 permits have been issued for rebuilding. Did climate change cause that? Hell no. So like the fires, Newsom let homelessness run wild. He allowed tens of billions of dollars to be swallowed up by a maze of consultants, nonprofits, and bureaucrats who created...
When it came to Gavin Newsom's ever-present smugness, Greg Gutfeld joked that it was the only form of renewable energy California had figured out how to harness. He said Newsom's face always looked like someone who just corrected you on the difference between gelato and ice cream. Pure, unearned superiority with a hint of almond milk. Gutfeld added that if smugness could put out wildfires, Newsom would be California's ultimate solution. Bill Maher closed the roast by calling Newsom the love child of good intentions and terrible execution. He promises the moon, delivers a glow stick, and acts shocked that everyone's still in the dark. Maher joked that Newsom is all surface, no depth, polished like a Barbie doll, yet somehow still leaving a bitter taste. And if Newsom ever became president, Maher quipped, the whole country would finally know what it's like to be a San Francisco taxpayer, broke, confused, and oddly proud of the chaos they paid for.
Like the last couple of years, you've like purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, oh, this is a blue state and that's a red state. Yeah. And I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you.
And yet neither Greg Gutfeld nor Bill Maher was finished. There was still absurdity to mock and hypocrisy to expose. Gavin Newsom had become the perfect roast target, not just for what he said, but for what he represented, the polished mascot of a coastal political machine built on buzzwords, fueled by fantasy, and resting on a foundation of elegant failure. Gutfeld returned with a smirk, joking that Newsom's legacy would be a bronze statue of himself holding a reusable shopping bag while the world burned around him. He said Newsom governed like someone who read the Tesla manual but tried to apply it to a dump truck. Maher, from his corner of sarcasm and reason, added that Newsom's version of California looked like a utopia sponsored by Whole Foods, with decline quietly rotting in a compost bin. Between the self-congratulation, the decay, and the denial, both agreed on one thing: Newsom's charm could only go so far before reality caught up.